Testing. Good morning. Welcome to today's masterclass. Today's our topic for our masterclass is Arcserve SaaS Backup. I'm King, Principal Consultant for Arcserve. Arcserve SaaS Backup is Arcserve new portfolio handling SaaS application backup. Okay, and this solution itself is not developed by Arcserve, but it's actually powered by Keepit. This is a one single platform for the most popular SaaS application like Microsoft M365, Google Workspace, even for your Azure Active Directory, Salesforce, and Microsoft Dynamics. So it has a single interface and a unified approach backing up all these important SaaS application, and it has a lot of different multiple recovery and restoration method. Okay, this is something which I will share with you later on. Okay, one of the biggest question that we always ask when we have SaaS application is that, do I need to protect the SaaS data? Shouldn't our SaaS provider help us, assist us, as this is a SaaS application? Okay, but unfortunately the answer is actually yes. You need to protect your own SaaS data, okay, because in the SaaS environment itself, the SaaS application, user data is actually user's own responsibility. It's not the SaaS provider responsibility. This slide gives you some quick glance in terms of, in general, what is the SaaS provider responsibility and what is the user's responsibility. Okay, so in general, you look at it, SaaS provider provide you the platform. They'll manage the hardware for you, they'll manage the software aspect of the application that you need to run. But as a user, so as a user, we don't need to concern on how we actually maintaining the system, okay, and how do we actually provide the redundancy, or even handling things like disaster recovery we need to put in place, etc. So the assurance it should be from the SaaS provider that the application is always accessibility. Okay, so the accessibility is always on. Okay, but the most important when we run our application is the data. Okay, and they are not being protected. Okay, and data can be corrupted for whatever reason. It could be human's error, or I can simply accidentally delete the data, or I replace a file, for example. So even with our experience with autosave or this, right, I may not able to get my version recovered back. Okay, so another biggest problem are always the people. Okay, employee tends to delete the data before they left the company. Okay, and then you also have insider threat as well. Okay, and the malicious there's also malicious hacker that actually hack or delete or modify important data before they actually left the organization. Say that is a unhappy employee, for example. So all this is not uncommonly heard of. Okay, so of course there are also others very common threat like the viruses, the malwares, and today's the top concern is very much on the ransomware attack. That are, and all these threats are just a continuous threat. Okay, it never stops. So based on the Gartner research, okay, this research was quite some time back actually, but during that time it was already predicted that SaaS application itself, okay, this Gartner research actually state that assuming SaaS application, okay, do not require a backup is very dangerous. Okay, and it even predicted that 70% of the organization by this year actually experience some sort of business disruption due to unrecovered data loss in the SaaS, etc. Okay, and we also heard a lot of different news, and also in terms of our sales experience, in terms of the type of data we lost. It just look into our standard M365, which that we use day to day. We ourselves actually face that already. Okay, so here is another research from the Aberdeen Group. Okay, so Aberdeen Group for this research itself is very much into the reason of data losses. So it's just repeatedly on what I've shared. We just talk about it just now. It's just more in terms of what are the percentage that actually fall under which category. Okay, so it say that 73% is actually due to human errors. Actually, this is the highest percentage of statistic in what caused the data losses. So we, like what I say, we ourselves is the one that delete the data, overwrite the data, or even the administrator accidentally close an account, close the wrong account, for example. Okay, and that cause the data losses. So, and then threat from the insider that contribute to 20%, and also that SaaS application does have a lot of third-party plugin. Closest example for us to experience would be our synchronization error. Okay, I think most of us have at some point we face some inconsistent synchronization, and it cause some loss of the data, for example, to our SharePoint in our OneDrive, etc. Or sometimes it's even our email. Okay, because I got too many different mobile devices and tablet, laptop, etc. And my handphone, and all this is causing a lot of different problem. Okay, so there also for other SaaS application itself, for example, the Salesforce. Okay, so this business operation team itself may actually face as the problem which most of us not aware of, is that upload bunch of data into the Salesforce, and then the upload is causing some problem or this, and then it corrupted some Salesforce information, and it has some inconsistency data across the Salesforce system and causing all kind of different problem because of the integration, etc. Okay, so all these different kind of third-party software application, in fact, does have about 7% of the reported data losses coming from this group of the problem. So since there are so many different scenarios that contribute the data loss in the SaaS application, so the question here is that when it actually happened, right, what and how can we recover the data? So how many solutions do I need to actually put in place to protect our SaaS data? So I have my M365 backup. Okay, so I have my M365. Okay, so but M365 very much depending on I must set up my Azure AD. So and then I might also have Microsoft Dynamics for my CRM, or I have Salesforce. Okay, so if I need to protect this environment, how many different solutions that I need to actually engage? Okay, because the more solution you have, meaning that the amount of skill set that you need. Okay, but we also always say that for SaaS backup itself, typically is that we configure it and we can forget it. So that's one of the good part about it. But when you need to come to do a restoration, and that is where all the tension is very high, because you need to really know how to restore and recover. And if you have so many different solutions in place, how do you actually manage it? Okay, can you actually remember how to use it, and how difficult it is for you to actually recover the data, either back to the original, okay, back to the SaaS itself, your application, or that I need to get the data back on premise, okay, for whatever reason. How do you actually do that? Okay, and if you have too many solutions in there, and that will also translate into that you need to have a lot of different skill set in handling it. Okay, so you look at in general, there are many different SaaS probably application. Okay, like I said it just now, but the most two common widely usage of the collaboration platform is the M365 and the Google Workspace. Okay, so most of the protection vendor, okay, SaaS backup protection vendor, okay, will protect the M365 probably from the Exchange Online. This is the most common one, the OneDrive and the SharePoint. Some will also do Microsoft Teams, but of course we need to look into a fine print and say what can it be done with the team, okay, and how do you actually do that, okay, and if I need to recover, what does it actually offer? All right, and of course this vendor itself, some of it extend their support to Google Workspace, okay, but not all of that. So of course, if you are the end user, you either run one of it, you won't be running two. But if you are our partners, okay, and you are a solution provider, then what you want to have is that one solution, at least I'm able to help my user that's in the M365 or the Google Workspace, because this is the two major collaboration platform today. But there's still the missing piece, the Azure itself, okay, the AD, okay, the AD. How about the AD protection? Do I need to back it out? Okay, but we know that if they're on M365, it relies on the AD. Anything goes wrong with the AD, that is translate into your M365 as well. So how do I actually recover an account, okay, or do certain restoration for my AD itself? What about my AD workload? Then how about by Salesforce? Okay, Salesforce itself, from the business angle, that is the most important CRM or the business application. Okay, it's even more, to certain extent, it's even more important than your collaboration platform, because it keeps all your customer information, it keeps all your information related to your sales activities. Okay, that's where your revenue is. So how do we actually protect it? All right, and if I'm not running Salesforce, I'm running in the Microsoft Dynamics CRM as a CRM platform. How do I actually protect it? Okay, so this is what I'm going to share with you today on Arcserve SaaS Backup, our solution. Since I mentioned so much on the on this F5 application with one single integration platform, then obviously we do support all these 5 SaaS application. Okay, so Arcserve SaaS Backup, like I mentioned earlier, is actually powered by Keep. Okay, so this is a comprehensive top number 1, okay, SaaS backup provider. It has a data center in UK, Denmark, Australia, US, and each of the data center does have 2 sites. Each of the location does have 2 data center. Okay, later I will share with you the backend itself, how to actually set it up in our data center. Something you don't actually hear or see from other vendor at all, because other vendors will probably just tell you what the feature that it can be done, okay, when it comes to access protection, but it will not exactly share with you how do we actually build the solution itself, or that why is it that it's more reliable than any other SaaS provider that you will see. Okay, and of course by standards, Arcserve SaaS itself or Keep It does comply and have all the related required certification like the ISO, HIPAA, SOX, PCI, etc. Okay, so Arcserve SaaS Backup itself, okay, is basically built on scalability, with scalability, extensibility, unifiable, and cost efficient. Okay, the platform is actually run on a hyper-converged architecture. That's in our backend. we share with you. Okay, we use a unique blockchain object store and the file system. So this is, since it's a blockchain technology, okay, it is a write once, read many, a worm technology, okay, which ensure that your data is safe. One is backup or written into our backup storage, okay, the data will not be changed, okay, and this platform itself is both vertically and horizontally with redundancy to ensure the uptime itself. Okay, Arcserve SaaS backup using the API approach. Okay, so it doesn't use third-party codes to actually do the to enable the backup, etc. This really eliminate the problem on complexity. Okay, and all the manual management the backend need to do with the SaaS application whenever a SaaS application get an update. Okay, so we don't have to try to keep up with the SaaS application and say you got a new version, you need to update our version, etc. Okay, so we have been also because we ourselves in the past have been doing our own on-premise backup for the OS, for database, for email system, etc. We know and we also experience all these challenges, problem when there is a patch and update, and somehow it causes our backup failure. Okay, so SaaS backup vendor has no difference. Okay, and but by using this API approach, right? We remove this complexity. So like what I mentioned, we don't have to keep try to catch up with what the SaaS application vendor is doing. All right. So our system does allow the data object also instantly accessible. Okay. So behind the scene, there's no wait time for the tape of for the cold storage. Okay, we don't move your data to a cold storage because it is an old backup, etc. Okay, so you can actually do a search when you come with the fast search engine itself, you will have a very quick retrieval. Okay, because all this data is inside the original hot storage. There's nothing so-called a cold storage, okay, in our architecture itself. So in terms of the cost efficiency, of course, our storage itself infra is built with extreme margin at the back end. Okay, so with Arcserve SaaS backup itself, our users do not need to get penalized or to pay for more high retention or even forced to reduce the number of data retention just in order to reduce the cost. Okay, and so in short itself, with the SaaS subscription itself, you get the unlimited storage and retention on the year that you subscribe. I mean during your subscription period. Okay. So the building block here, okay, the building block of the SaaS backup architecture does comply to a 3-2-1 strategy. Okay, so each data center has 2 locations and configured as active. Okay, so both sides are connected with dedicated optical link, and all the data are replicating between the site utilizing the dark fibers. Okay, so each location, like Sydney, I have 2 location. If Europe, there are 2 locations in each of the Europe, each of the so-called data center site. So there are no single point of failure in this architecture. Okay, if you look at it, so any of the single component, right? The building block itself can actually lost without affecting the operation itself. Any number of the full platform can also quickly get deployed. Okay, independent of another so-called independently, okay, with full isolation and scalability. So to expand is very easy for our backend. The front-end node does provide the front-end node will use a load balancer, and so it's easy to scale as well. Okay, we know load balancer, so we can just add nodes if we need to increase the performance. All right, so speed, bandwidth, retrieving performance is also an important factor. So all internet related components at the data center also can scale horizontally and vertically. Last but not least, okay, the data is important. So each location, as mentioned, have 2 copies of all the customer data. So rest assured that our user does have a total of 4 copies in total. Okay, and then all these 4 copies are immutable. There are a one copy, write once, read many. Okay, this really gives the assurance that there's always a healthy copy of the data restoration, even if that is really a hardware or disk failure. Okay, so this is the number of copies that we have. Even our slide here say 3, 2, 1, right? I will always because this is most understandable best practice concept in the data protection strategy, but I will say that it does comply to the new approach or the new trend when we talk about our 3, 2, 1, 1, where the last one is talking about the immutable. But in the basic foundation of the SaaS backup architecture, right? With the 3, 2, 1, the last one is already from the tool itself is already the immutable already. Okay. So this is the so-called the strongest testimony for Arcserve SaaS backup is the architecture. All right, so here's the software piece. Okay, so the Arcserve SaaS backup itself connect to the M365, SFDC, Dynamic 365, Google Workspace, all through API. Okay, REST API, Graph, EWS or SP API. We talk about the Azure, the Microsoft or anything that run in Microsoft. Okay, the connectivity and the data transit are all secure. We use open authentication 2.0 with HTTPS, with SSL to secure data in transit. So activity are all logs in the audit logs. It's very secure. Anything you do, later I show you a quick demo, you'll be amazed that someone modified the protection plan, etc. It also reflected, okay, inside the audit log. Okay, so data are backed up to the selected data location. I already mentioned that in our previous slide because this is one of our strongest testimony in terms of how do we keep the data and how many copies of your data are being kept. Okay, so that with the 3-2-1 strategy, there are total 4 copies of the data, and using blockchain, they are the immutable copy. The data will not be changed at all. Okay, so user is able to perform fast search across one or all the snapshot, okay, with the dedicated search engine. And you will also see multiple restore method, either to the original or to the alternate location. This slide shows the RBAC roles, the role-based security of Arcserve SaaS backup. Most of the SaaS backup at cloud don't really offer role-based security model or very limited in terms of the role-based security. But Arcserve SaaS backup has a granular rights, okay, that can say Agile who can create, configure, modify, and managing the backup. Who can actually restore or import or even down to when the restore, whether when you are able to do a restore, but whether you have the rights to say your restore can be override or that your restore rename or that your restore itself must be to a separate folder. So even if I restore back to the original location for the user, I'm not able to restore back to the original inbox, but I must put it in a separate folder and let the user manage it themselves. Okay, so you can actually create the so-called the uh, a user role, a support role that really it limits what can these support people do, okay, when they handle the restore. Okay, so in Arcserve SaaS backup itself, it also has the strength to preview the data before you restore. So you are not blindfolded or waste productivity hour, trial and error when you do the restore. So, but then on the other hand, we also value how important privacy and confidential requirement. Okay, so in the RBAC itself, you can also limit if the restore admin is able to preview the user data before the actual restore. Okay, so if you want to restore a user email and that happen to be a CEO, can the restore admin actually read the data? Okay, so that can be done actually, okay, through the RBAC security. So Arcserve SaaS backup also have one very interesting feature: create a share link, okay, for the restore mount point. Okay, so the admin can share a link of a backup mount point, then share with the end user and let the user do their own restoration. Okay, so you can, again, with the RBAC, you can actually say that whether the support that being assigned with whether they have the rights to actually create this public sharing or not, okay, to be shared out. All right, so our other RBAC roles are the job monitoring, the audit log access, configuration of the single sign-on, who can create, edit, or delete user, etc. Okay, so to ease the implementation, okay, the all this the master admin, backup admin, full support, standard support, limit support, audit, SSO admin. Okay, all these roles are predefined. Okay, so you don't need to spend a lot of time to try to figure out how do you need how do you actually limit if you want to implement a role base, how what kind of role base or what kind of rights that you want to you need to create, etc. Because all this is already predefined for you. All right. So okay, now let's look at a little bit on the actual interface and what how this Arcserve SaaS backup works. Okay, so this is the dashboard. When you log in, you will see all your connectors. Okay, this is what you first see when you first log into the portal. So you have a quick backup on all your SaaS backup connector. So this is your Azure, your Google Workspace, your M365, etc., or Dynamic. And then you also have the for individual connector itself. We'll click on it, it actually show you the status of the connector information, whether over here show you is healthy, and then what is the coverage here, that I have 7 users, I have 15 sites, and in my team itself I have 5 groups. It's very small because this is a demo site. All right, so what happened with my last backup, etc., and all my schedule, if I done any recovery job, okay, and then also that what's my last 1 week backup statistic, and also that my recovery job statistic for the last 1 week, etc. So this is a dashboard. All right, so for the dashboard itself, what can you see at your left pan here? It's very much depending on the role base, what was being assigned. All right, so when you look at our configuration, so we look at 2 points. as a partner, if I need to go and help my end user to configure it, I want it to be as simple as possible. As an end user, I need to manage it, okay, ongoing. Okay, if I need to change or create new policy, I want it to be something that I can learn easily. All right. So Arcserve SaaS backup, when we want to add a job or task, okay, a backup job, we call it a connector. So we just add the connector or the backup task that we need, whether it's the M365, Google Workspace, Salesforce, Dynamic, or Azure. Okay, I can add multiple M365 connector. One to handle my Exchange, one to handle my OneDrive, one to handle my SharePoint, one to handle my group Teams. If my environment is very big, I can also create multiple connector, okay, for my OneDrive, okay, so that I can split up all my backup so that it can run faster, etc. Okay, so this is how this is interface for our configuration. All right, I'll show you later on the actual demo a little bit of how does it look later on. So you also get the Explorer view. Okay, whatever connector that you created, when you double click it, you can zoom it in. Obviously, when you have the right, you zoom it in and you can look at the what is within that connector itself. So for this connector, I back up everything so I can see my groups and teams. Okay, I can see my public folder, I can see my SharePoint, I can see my users. So as can you see that team is something that is not a component that most vendor can do it very well. But with Arcserve SaaS backup itself, you'll be amazed that you just it's so easy and so interactive when you want to restore a team channels or a team conversation. Okay, you can see how easily and interactive that you can actually navigate with the team later on. Okay, so I can also the system will whenever you do a restore, obviously it show you the latest snapshot. Okay, but you can always click at the snapshot view here, then you can select a point in time. Okay, which is the snapshot that you are looking at, so you can actually see that with the timeline here, it show you the day itself, the date and the day itself, and then how many snapshot itself that we have for that particular time for that particular day point in time itself. Okay, so it come to restore. M365 has quite a couple of components. You have the Exchange, you have the SharePoint, you have the OneDrive, you have the team. Most of us, we may know really how to use probably even our team very well, our SharePoint very well. But you may find a bit challenging to figure how to restore certain component. Okay, especially for example, a SharePoint site or a team channel. Okay, the team channel is having problem. Now I need to restore that. Yeah, so that is going to be quite difficult. Okay, very challenging. All right, but with Arcserve SaaS backup, there is a restore wizard. This wizard itself will guide you through the process of all the restoration in the M365 itself. You can choose the snapshot that you want to restore from, the type of the data that you want to restore, whether that is an email data, a SharePoint, a OneDrive, team, etc. Okay, and then you can select the data to restore, and then the method of the target restore, whether it is in place, you are overwriting, or to a new location. So the same wizard itself also help you to handle user in M365. For example, you can do an import of all the email or all the OneDrive data from one user account to another. Okay, so it's very handy, especially when you have an employee that left and you want to move all their inbox or sandbox to another user. Okay, sometimes typically is that probably when the employee left, we cannot, sometimes the admin said you cannot discontinue the account yet. Okay, you cannot delete the account because we need to transfer, or we need to wait for the user, okay, or a new replacement come in. Okay, but with the if the system of the M365 is protected by the Arcserve SaaS backup itself, you don't have this concern. All right. So what you need to do is down the road, even if there's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, and the new user, a new employee, a new staff take over the role of this ex-employee, you can just use the SaaS backup to do an import of all the last snapshot backup of the last snapshot backup of their email or OneDrive to this new employee. But of course, we also say that before he left, okay, it probably that 1 month before he left, he start deleting data. So rather than importing the last snapshot, you probably can do it twice. Okay, another one at 1 month ago snapshot. Okay, you have the data in the system. So that would be better than try to retain the account and not closing the account, right? Okay, because 1 month or 1.5 months ago, the employee would definitely have not starting purging the data yet. Okay, so that's the restore method. It's very handy and easy to use. Now, of course, on top of the in-place restore, alternate restore also available. You are able to do a download, or you are able to restore it into a PSD or for email. Okay, you can just say consolidate all this, restore it. It is a PSD file. Okay, so if you just want to have 1 or 2 or email, etc., then the easy ways is probably just double click, just do a download, okay, and then you just pass it back to user in that manner. Or that if you are talking about, I talked about the public link earlier on, okay, I can also do the using the share the public link, okay, to the end user, and when the end user look at what they have when they log in, they see their all the email, etc. So then they can just use a download and choose whatever they need to download it back. Yeah, and since if there's an email, it's an original email format, they can just easily move it back to their own Outlook, etc. Okay, so easy to handle when it comes to the restoration. Okay, all right. So there's another feature on the system, which is the right to be forget. Okay, we talk about the GDPR. Okay, so sometimes GDPR or that or we don't talk about GDPR. Okay, the user may say that I know that recurring point itself during that time is corrupted. It's basically have been attacked by viruses already. All right, and I know that you have the backup in there. I don't want to accidentally get that recurring point restored back. But that is a backup. How do I delete one recurring point within the backup itself? And especially now that you're telling me your backup itself is very safe, okay? Because you use blockchain technology, you can't modify the backup, okay? Unless the entire thing is gone and deleted. Okay, so with the Arcserve SaaS backup, we have this feature called right to be forget. You can actually set a label for that particular item, for that particular recurring point, the folder, whichever that you choose, okay, and mark it right to be forgot. So once you mark it right to be forgotten, that recurring point itself will get gray off. You can't restore. Okay, user will not accidentally restore it back. So it's a cool and nice feature to handle this kind of environment, this kind of requirement. Okay, and you can put a comment there. But of course, if you accidentally mark something wrongly, I suppose to mark 10, I'm going to mark April 11. Okay, I can undo it. I can remove the RBAC, and then that required point again will reappear, allowed for restoration. Okay, so this is the right to be forgotten. Okay, job monitoring. Okay, so a system will this monitoring itself, you can see all your backup activities or other activities that you conduct within the environment. Okay, later on I'll show some of the activities that what you can see, okay, with this monitoring itself. And there's also a message center. Okay, the details of activity, all those things, what you have done, okay, and who actually do it, etc. You can actually see inside the message center. Okay, and the last one here is the audit log. Okay, so for the audit log itself, you can see that this is especially going to change my retention. Okay, to show that the account, the user itself, okay, actually, this is a master admin, okay. Demo at Arcserve.com is a master admin, okay, of the entire site actually, and the master admin update or change the backup policy. Okay, this is an existing policy itself. I change the connector itself from unlimited, okay, to 11 months. Okay, I can change how long that I want to keep. So you can see the detail of the changes. You can even see who changed it and what he changed. All right, so there's no argument in terms that no, I didn't change the configuration. I didn't accidentally change it. Okay, sometimes it's just that we click, and then we totally forgotten that we actually accidentally changed it. But at least they tell you that, okay, it's my fault. I accidentally changed it. I'm not aware of that. Okay, so the audit log itself is very detailed and is available from the audit log is all there on the period that you subscribe. Okay, for all your subscription. Okay, so and this audit log itself, our thing here is that it can be downloaded as a CSV file. Okay, so if you need to do or to keep one copy locally or this at any time, you can just go up to the system and download as a CSV the entire audit log down as a CSV file. All right, so that's all for the PowerPoint presentation. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do a little bit of demo. At the end of my demo itself, I'll share with you a bit on the subscription license. And before I close off, I will have a small survey, but there's not actually a survey, but it's for any one of you that actually have a requirement in terms of backing out your OneDrive, M365, your Google Workspace, your Salesforce, your Dynamic 365, or your Azure AD. Okay, you will notice that the Azure AD is part of the puzzle of any of the backup of the SaaS application. Okay, I'll touch a little bit more later on. Okay, that surveys follow out itself. If you have the requirement, you just checkbox that. We will get our salesperson to actually contact you, and we'll see how can we move forward with the even for a more detailed demo or for a trial, okay, or for your customer or for yourself if you are the end user. Okay. All right. So this is the Arcserve SaaS backup login interface. Okay, so even you can see that it's over here is written here, powered by Keep. Okay, but it bear all the Arcserve, the rest bear all the Arcserve logo. So sign in. So I'm the administrator. Okay, so basically when I sign in, I can see all the connector created by everyone because I'm the master admin. Okay, so obviously, as mentioned earlier on, there's a role base there, which that I can have many different user. That some of it is a backup admin only. Okay, and some of it is actually is an audit admin. Okay, so of course, for some environment, if you are a large enterprise with a couple of thousand user in the environment, you probably have different level of restoration admin as well. Okay, so previously you mentioned that your role itself, I have a full support restore admin, limited support, standard support. Okay, I have the slide in the handout session. Okay, the handout you can download it, and then you will see in detail what what are all these support able to do when do the restore. But again, for those of you cannot download, after that, when we have a follow-up email, I will have provide the link where you can download the PDF file again. Okay, so that is the dashboard that we can see, and I can choose my tenant itself. So for example, I choose this tenant, and then it show me my data, what happened with my data itself. My next backup will start in the 2 hours 22 minutes. Currently there are total 14 jobs run in the last 1 week. And then of course I can always choose that I want to see for my last 30 days, I got the 60 job run. Okay, so what happened with my recent recovery job? Okay, that I have 2 successful, and then I have 1 incomplete. I have to check why is it incomplete, etc. Okay, then your recovery statistic. So this is like what I mentioned, this is the overview. Okay, I show you the M365, but of course, obviously, if you have Google Workspace, you can see the Google Workspace. If you have Salesforce, then you have the Salesforce data, all this thing. Okay, or that if I have Azure, this is the Azure AD backup. So you can see that this is actually a multi-tenancy. Okay, that I actually have connect to different AD. I connect to different M365 or Google Workspace. Okay, because every one of us have our own so-called demo site, demo M365 account. All right, so we create our own protection. So to create it, again, I come to my connector. So I can see that if I have some of it in gray because I accidentally created it, and then I just wanted to delete it. I just, let's say I want to delete it, then oh, this one is belong to somebody else one. Let me see. Okay, so it's just that, okay, I could be something that, okay, I want to delete, for example. Okay, so once I click delete, the item doesn't get deleted immediately. It's actually been scheduled to delete 1 week later, or 2 weeks later, actually. Yeah, so this is something that I actually cleaned it out yesterday. So you can see all the scheduling there. All right, so to create a connector, let's create a M365 connector. I just say add M365 connector. I need to be signed in with a global admin account. Now, obviously, to be easiest approach, I already signed in as my global admin here. So I actually have my global admin account, or I need to sign in. Okay, so I have my global admin sign in. So basically, we make sure that I can sign in there. Then I just sign in from here. I say which one that I'm supposed to type to. I just wait for a while. Now you are ready. Okay, so I just need to demo. Okay, this one is my 16 June masterclass. Okay, so basically you just give a connector name. I put this connector name so that later I can remember which one to delete easily. All right, so by default, all are enabled. So if I'm very new to that and I really don't know what I should back up and what I should not back up, since I already, once I subscribe, okay, the license cover everything, okay. We don't see why is it that you don't want to back it up. But again, if the environment is very big, okay, and I want a much better performance, or I want it to be much to manage it is easier, okay, I can say that, okay, for this particular policy itself, I only want to back up my SharePoint, okay. And I can say that which SharePoint, the system is either auto adding all the new site itself, or that I want to do a selected SharePoint backup. Okay, then of course under the advanced itself, it cover all version, etc. So it gives you the granular setting if you really want to change the granular setting. Okay, then and say just cancel that. Okay, but let me just enable this one back so that I can show what are the things that you can see if you want to do selective backup. So for Exchange, okay, you can see that it back up all the user, all the group, the security group, the mailbox group, etc. Whether there's a dynamic group, there's a unified group. Okay, so you get all this configuration. You can choose by the group itself, okay, and say include the public folder, or if you have a public folder list, what are the public folder list that you want to back it up. Okay, I don't recall I have any public folder. Oh, I got one. Okay, so I can see I have a public folder. But say that I don't want to based on the group, I just want to back up a certain user, then I can go by the user list as well. So you have all the flexibility there, and you can say what are the data type that you can see even in place archive is being backed up. Okay, so this is the Exchange group, and again for the OneDrive, same thing, similar. What are the user itself that you want to back up? Okay, when they're OneDrive, okay, that you want to back up, etc. Okay, and the team. Okay, so you can see for the Microsoft team itself, you will have all the groups itself that you want to back it up, and I can also have the selected Microsoft team. Okay, so I do show that this is my customized team itself, the team group. Yeah, so all this is also, you're able to say what are the things that you want to back up, and then whatever. Because team itself is very complicated due to the reason is that the data itself can be in the Exchange, it can be in the SharePoint, it can be in the OneDrive, okay, and there's also some very specific one, which is the channels, okay, in the team. So that's why, as you mentioned, to handle team is not simple, but Arcserve SaaS happen to be able to manage this very well. Okay, so once I say done with my configuration, I can also by default say the retention itself. Okay, typically the retention itself is already set for the 1 year because that is based on our subscription. So I subscribe for 1 year. Oh, drop my mouse. Okay, so when I subscribe for 1 year, then I get my entire 1 year retention. Whatever I back up, the snapshot is being retained. I don't see the reason why you want to limit that, but you can. Okay, but you'll notice that you will not be able to increase more than 1 year because this is your subscription. All right, but I can reduce it, okay, to the month. Okay, so then I can say I can reduce to 1 month, etc. So you can change it if you want to. All right, but I don't see the reason why I need to do that, so I just let it to have the whatever maximum that I'm allowed. Then just say save. Okay, so when I save the what did I call my, oh, okay. So once you save, then basically you have the backup itself. The backup itself, in fact, will start shortly. Okay, the moment you create it, the system will click off the backup. So there'll be 2 backup per day, 2 snapshot per day. Okay, every 12 hours. So if I create it now at 11, okay, so the next one will run at 11, for example, 11 a.m. Then the next one will run at 11 p.m. So that's how your snapshot works. All right. So that's the backup. Next, let's look at our restore. Okay, I'm not going to look at that particular backup itself, but I just look at, this is my own tenant site for M365. So if I click at my M365 here, I can drill in and I can see my user, my individual user itself, and I can see all the type of the data that this user have. Is whether my OneDrive data, okay, this is inside my shared library, etc. Okay, or that I can look at my email, which is you list it as an Outlook, okay, but that's the email. So I can see all my you can see all the folder inside this user account, not just the default folder by M365. Okay, you can see that this folder itself was an alternate restore that I previously done as a demo. Okay, so all those customized folder is also in the when you want to do a restore, you see all this customized folder as well. But of course, let me just go to the inbox, and from here I can say that, okay, this is the email that I want to restore. I can select multiple if I want to, okay, and I can just do a download for the restore itself. Okay, whether there's a files or email, etc., whether there's an exchange or that is a Google, okay, I can do this kind of download. Okay, and then I'll be able to click, and then you can see that this is a email method, email format. Okay, and I can also say when I do a restore, that I can say I want to restore to original. Okay, so basically this will be the restore action. I restore back to my original. Okay, and then if the restore is always bring the latest snapshot. If that's not the snapshot that I want in any of the restore screen, whatever component that I'm doing the restore, if that is not the latest that I need, I can always click at the clock here, and it show me the timeline. And from here, you choose your restore point. Okay, the snapshot that you want. Okay, so just choose this is the 8 rather than the latest. I want the 8 Wednesday snapshot. Okay, so that you change the point of view here back to the snapshot, the particular snapshot here. So this is how I can easily navigate from one. Very much is all on the Explorer view. Okay. So coming back to here, just a little bit looking at your group itself. So this is the group and the team. Okay, so I can see that this is my sales team that I created. Okay, and I also have different channels in the team itself. If the team is creating a channel, oh yeah, AR channel, invoice channel, whichever channels, I can just go in here and I choose the channel that I want to restore. So again, when I want to restore, I can just do a restore from here, and I can choose the version that I want to restore. Okay, or I can just simply download the information of the channels. Okay, or if I that is in restoring the entire channel. Okay, otherwise, if you just want to have probably some files or some posts, this is a conversation. Okay, so you have some conversation in which that probably you have certain conversation that you miss out all this thing that you need to restore. Okay, so you can see that when I click it, I can see the conversation. Okay, so this is a test, so obviously my conversation is all test. Yeah, but if you a conversation actually have pictures or things in there, you can actually restore easily. So you can see all this is very the user interface, the way how you interact and find the item that you restore, straightforward. Okay, I use a team as an example because I always find that team is the most complicated one due to it covers so many different things. All right, but some of you probably been using SharePoint, and then that is probably one of your most concern. So again, SharePoint is nothing, not a big deal in Arcserve SaaS backup. I can easily come in here and say what are the SharePoint sites that I want to restore. Okay, so I can just choose, for example, this is my POC SharePoint itself, and I can say that I want to restore this entire SharePoint itself. Okay, back to the original. Another way of restoring itself, say that I really to put it into um, I want to use import, for example. Sorry. Oh, okay. Just let me do the shepherd alternate completed. Okay. So the shepherd said, okay. So I can just say do a restore. Okay. So when do a restore itself for the SharePoint, you are able to say that I want to restore the in place, or I want to restore it as a new site. Okay, so this is the original site itself, but I want to restore as a new site with a new URL. Then I just see, okay, say this is oh yeah, sorry, I just accidentally press the wrong button, cancel the whole thing instead. Where's my POC test again? Okay, so restore as a new site. Go next. Okay, POC test BR. Okay, so I'll restore the most recent file. I want to restore all the file version because we know that SharePoint have all the file version. All right, but I just want to restore the most recent. Then I just click off the restore. Okay, so once the restore completed, okay, if you have time later, we look at it. Okay, when the restore completed, then you will see that you will have a new site, new SharePoint site called POC test-dr. So that's how easily that I can actually restore the entire SharePoint site itself to a new site. Okay, and I can otherwise I can also come in here and say that what are the library or document that I want to restore. Okay, so you can just zoom in and find the item that you want to restore if you are looking at selective restoration. All right, the import. Okay, the wizard. Okay, let's look at the wizard instead. So there is a wizard icon here. Okay, so I can use the wizard icon to guide me through in terms of the restore or the import. So if let's say that I want to restore a user account, okay, everything from user account, I find some user may find this one is easier because it gives you a step by step. Okay, so I can say that, okay, the next one I choose what are the snapshot that I use. Okay, so I say, okay, this is the latest that I want to restore from. The data area, what is it that I want to restore? Okay, I want to choose for example, the files, the team itself, for example. Then I want to restore my sales team. Okay, my sales team. And then what do you want to restore? I want to restore everything that from my sales team. Okay, because this is the entire sales team. Okay, then just say next. Okay, then I basically go back to my in place restore. Okay, and I want to if there's a duplicate, I just want to skip it. okay, or I want to override. Okay, just I want to override because I suspect there is a corruption going on. So I just want to override everything. Just do next, and I just kick off the restore. So this is how we can actually use the wizard to do the restoration, or that I can do an import. Okay, mention that if a user left, okay, then subsequently I have a new employee. I probably want to have the data itself imported into the particular user, so that he have the ability to access, etc. Okay, so I can just do an import from to say that I want to do an import. Okay, I want to import from my tenant. Where's my, yeah, okay, from my this backup connector itself. Then just do next, and same thing, it show you what are the snapshot that you want. Just show a snapshot, and the data area itself, what are the basically, because that snapshot for that backup, right, is covering for all the 4 items. So all the data area itself, you have it for the where is it that there's no data area? Okay. Let me see whether this is the correct one. Tenant. How come that one got no data? Let me see. Yeah. I created too many connector for them. All right, so this connector got both the Exchange and the OneDrive. So let me just say that I want to import from the email first. Then you say that which one that I want to select for the connector itself. Okay, so basically I can just choose what the user that actually I want to import filter. I can say I only want the email, etc. And one, okay, so select the user to import to. Okay, then I can just say I want to import to this account, for example. So basically I need to check and find for the user. Okay, so probably just do that, it will be easier. Then you can do the filter to actually filter with the user that you're looking at. Then just do next, and then I can say, okay, I import to a new folder. Just do next, import. So basically, this is just some quick way in terms of like how do I actually want to import, whether the user data or then the files, the Exchange file itself, the OneDrive data to another user account. All right. We have been focusing on the M365, but just to be fair, for the Google itself, we don't really have many account that's having a Google Workspace, okay, demo account. So there's only one here that belong to my colleague in Korea, in Australia. So this is his account actually, but there's not much thing in there. So, but basically for the Google Workspace, it's very similar in how we handle Exchange. Okay, once you go in, you'll be able to see what the user that you have, and currently there's only one here. So from here, then you choose a user. You have the Google Drive, you have the Google Calendar, the Gmail, the tasks, etc. So again, if I want to restore something for the Google Drive, then I just can select from here, and then I can do a download, okay, for the restore, or I can just do again, just double click, which is that you can view the data, preview the data before you run the actual restore. So I can just say, yes, I want to do a restore. So that will be do a restore back to the original easily. Okay, so that's for the Google. All right. So just now we talk about the import itself. Okay. Sometimes probably we'll find that I want to actually have the user to actually let's say this user account, okay, now I need to assign it to another user to have the access, okay. But there is a possibility in which that you actually don't want to do that kind of restoration, because no matter how we do a restoration, it restore back to your M365, right? Okay, so if you don't want to put it back to your M365, but you still need to give the the new user itself, the new staff, the access to the original the old staff, the ex employee email itself. What I can do also that I can create a share link. Okay, I can create for this user, and this is the latest backup. Okay, the latest snapshot. So I can just create a share link. Okay, and then I can say you can set a time limit for a sharing. Okay, so I can say that this sharing itself, I'm just going to allow it for 60 days, for example. Okay, or since 60 days, I can say it's a 2 months. Okay, and I get we always add a password to the public link itself, so that when you need to access it, you need to have the password. Okay, then I just do it. Let me. Oh, okay. Okay, just meet the compliance. So I just share out. Okay. Oh, I didn't copy out the share link. Okay. So since I forgot to copy out the share link, I just come in here and check. Oh, okay. So this is the share link that just now I just created. All right. So I can just come in here. Let me just copy this. Okay. Then, so a user itself having the share link. Okay, so you can see that they'll be able, they don't have a login account to here. Okay, but you need to enter a password to access the share link. Okay. So you can see that as a user, then he have the rights to actually find the data itself. Okay, he can do a filter, he can do a search. Okay, so because all this one have filter by name, etc., then he can look at the email or this from here, and then just do a download when you need to. Okay, so this is actually a method of sharing a link to the user so that they can handle or manage their own restoration or retrieve the data that they want. Okay, and again, this link itself, the restore administrator who can actually have the rights to create this public link, all this, you can always control it. Okay. So whatever things that we have done so far, okay, and you also have the the audit log. Okay, let's come back to my audit log here. So the audit log basically show that what are the activities that I've done so far. Okay, that even if I navigate in the folder itself, I went in and navigated the folder, you see that the system actually show that I'm actually in that folder. Okay, and so if you just look around, it's also being logged. All right, and you can filter what are the information that you want to see, whether it's a user event, a connector event, for example. This is the, and then let me just show from here, refresh, then so you can see that updated the connector, what attribute that I updated, etc. Okay, I change a connector, I delete the connector, etc. All right, so all the activity is being logged. The message center, on the other hand, give you more information. Okay, so I just say that, okay, I have some permission item that's actually get escape. Okay, there's some reason why is it going escape itself. Okay, and then also that probably the restore, what was the restore that I've done, all this. So this is a status that the restore was completed, that in couple job of the restore that was done. Okay, so some of the item is actually a temp item, so all these item probably just skip. So you can actually see what happened during the restore. Okay, the last one, the right to be forgotten. Okay, so let's go back to our so-called the email here. Okay, say that the user email account was corrupted. Okay, so I think it started corrupting the last 2 days. Okay, for this email account. So basically, what I probably want to do is that I'll say that, okay, no point I'm keeping this particular a snapshot anymore because it's corrupted. I can just say that right to be forgotten for this particular version. Okay, then just say corrupted email. Okay. Okay. So basically, for this particular person, this email account is actually corrupted. So if I look at my previous snapshot, okay, so basically because this is how it, okay, oh no, because I do it at the root. Okay, so this and that you can see that you won't be able to preview or you cannot recover. But if let's say I actually made a mistake, okay, then what I can do here is that you must have the right to come to the RBAC here, and then basically I will just say that for this one, okay, then I can remove, okay, the RBAC. Okay, so when I want to remove, okay, error. And let me go back to my connector. Which one? So all your email, everything is here again. Okay, so basically, this is how you can actually set right to be forgotten. So rather than setting up at the root itself, okay, I can actually choose individual item. Okay, so you're also able to choose individual item and state what are the items that it is right to be forgotten. Okay, this is especially useful when it comes to GDPR. Okay, because sometimes GDPR does state that your certain information you cannot keep for more than a certain time unless you have a valid reason, etc. Okay, what else that I need to show? That should be all. Very quick one that you can see. All right, the last one actually the Azure AD. Okay, before close. So Azure AD again, to create it, we just need to make sure logging in as a global admin as Azure, and then the system will do a backup. You can see all the rows here in which that I'll be able to restore, or that I can restore for the user account. So this is the Azure. All right. So since we are talking about Azure, okay, need to talk a little bit on the subscription. So the Arcserve SaaS backup licensing itself is based on subscription, and the price is per user. M365 cover all the 4 components itself, and if you or that you will probably getting it for the Google Workspace or the Dynamic 365, okay, or for the Salesforce. All this is by subscription and the price is per user. As long as you are having any of the 4 here, you'll be entitled to actually back up the Active Directory. All right. So currently, this Active Directory is included, and which is under the promotion period. Okay. All right. That's all. Okay, that's all I have for today. okay, for the Arcserve SaaS backup. I'll be closing my session soon. So after the session close, there's a survey pop up. If you need to have more follow up in terms of more demo that you want to see, or that you have a environment that you want to POC on it, okay, then you reach out to us. Okay, you fill in that up, or that with our follow up email. You reply on the follow-up email or reach out to us through the follow-up email. We will also reach it out back to you in terms of the POC, or if you need to have a quotation for the subscription, all these things, we'll follow, that we can help you out on that. Okay, and that's all. Thank you for your time and have a good day.